Yeah, speaking of collaboration, I brought Jeff Davis with me. He's like having just migrated to America a year ago. We were incredibly excited to get this invitation, but being sort of a very recent legal alien, I just got my green card some months ago. I actually only knew about Sundance Festival and awesome skiing when I heard about Park City. So my colleague Daniel Kidd, that's actually sort of a Utah native, told me to call up Jeff from Nexus, and here he is.
Yeah, we're very excited to be a part of Big's team, and we have a few of our projects here that you'll see scrolling by, but I'm not going to take the time to go through those. I'm sure you want to hear from Bjarke, so we're excited to be here, and I'll turn the time back to Bjarke.
Thanks. So basically, in the next sort of 9 minutes, I'd like to try to sort of give you as many ideas as I could squeeze in that might be useful or helpful in the situation that you're in. I come from a company, a group of architects based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and New York now. Like the Kimball Arts Center, we also play with Lego. We actually did an entire building with a 250,000 Lego pieces. We've been, even though Copenhagen has pretty much the same climate as Utah, or as Park City right now, we have a completely flat landscape, so we've been trying to use buildings to create landscapes. We did a project called The Mountain that combines a parking structure and an apartment building to turn all of the apartments into houses with gardens. So each home actually has a garden the same size as the apartment itself on the downstairs neighbor, creating this sort of man-made mountain in the middle of the suburbs. And we did a project called the 8 House, where we combine shops and offices with townhouses and apartments, allowing people to walk and bicycle all the way to the penthouse, creating this sort of a three-dimensional community in the middle of the city block. And right now we're trying to sort of reinvent the Manhattan skyscraper on the West Side waterfront with this project that is sort of an attempt, sort of a genetic experiment to see what happens when you mate a Copenhagen courtyard with an American skyscraper. And the result is what we've nicknamed the Court Scraper. It's sort of a building where the courtyard actually has a view over the Hudson River, while revealing that the rejuvenation of the New York waterfront is starting to sort of infect the urban fabric itself. One idea that sort of permeates a lot of our work that I think is essential in the Kimball Arts Center is this sort of notion of public participation. We did a project in Copenhagen, the Copenhagen Harbor Bath, that extends public life into the waters, essentially because our port water is so clean you can swim in it. We did a project called the Maritime Youth House, a social project in Copenhagen, where we responded to a polluted site by covering the entire site with a wooden deck. We create sort of almost like a man-made dune landscape that becomes sort of an informal playground for the local kids on the waterfront of Copenhagen, and really a place for the community. We did the Danish Pavilion for the Shanghai Expo, where we tried to sort of take the Danish streetscape with the blue bicycle lanes, allowing the visitors to actually bicycle on the Copenhagen city bikes through the pavilion and through the exhibition. I'm proud to say that it's the ultimate museum for impatient people, because you can bicycle through the entire thing in 2 minutes. At the heart of the pavilion, to recreate the harbor bath, we allowed the visitors to experience how clean, if not how cold, the Danish harbor water is, and trying to find a common denominator between the Danes and the Chinese. We found out that in the Chinese public school curriculum, they have 3 fairy tales by Hans Christian Andersen. So all of them actually grew up with the story of the mermaid, the national symbol of Denmark. So we proposed to move the actual mermaid to China. When the Danish equivalent of the Tea Party, the Danish National Party, heard about this, they tried to pass a law specifically against moving the mermaid. So I had to go to Parliament to argue her case. And as you can see, we got her. We even got her through Chinese customs and into the pavilion. Speaking of public participation, in Tallinn, we propose to take the city hall, or the new city hall, lift it above the ground to create a public service marketplace on the ground floor. So leaving the entire floor for the people to enter and engage with the city, see the politicians at work. It's sort of made as a village of departments that have consolidated into a single institution. And in the tower of the city hall, we place the city council. The ceiling is made as a gigantic mirror, so when the politicians have to make difficult decisions, all they have to do is look up, and they get this sort of periscope overview of the city they're messing with. As a side effect, when the angry citizens gather to demonstrate, they get a perfect bird's eye view. You know, they can see if politicians are sleeping or absent or doing dirty deals or playing Angry Birds. So happily the City Council liked the idea, and we are breaking ground in the spring. Reuse, of course, there's an existing structure. We did a social project in Copenhagen that refurbished a rundown former factory into a community center for the local sort of immigrant kids. It's a listed building, like Kimball, so the only thing we could play with was the color of the glass, to sort of reveal that that something was going on inside, creating this almost like church-like atmosphere inside the old industrial space. We put it in the garage doors that actually allows the entire communal space to open up to the surrounding city and sort of invade the urban space outside. And the only sort of visible architectural addition to the building is that container. It's like the kids have a record studio where they do hip-hop records. It's called Ghetto Noise. We put them as this container that spans between the two walls, almost like something that the construction guys forgot when they were done redoing the factory. And a sort of more sort of extreme makeover. We're refurbishing a dry dock north of Copenhagen to become the new maritime museum of Denmark. And essentially the museum is put around the old dry dock where they used to make ships. A series of bridges provide access to the museum and create shortcuts within the museum. And they also bring daylight into the museum, although it's completely underground. You actually have abundant of daylight coming in because the dry dock turns into this sort of light well for the underground project. In terms of art, we're doing two projects that have the same size as Kimball. One is located in the beautiful sculpture park in north of Oslo. This is Anish Kapoor. And essentially, the client had just purchased some new land, and we proposed to reconfigure the sculpture park to turn it into a continuous loop by turning the bridge into, by turning the museum into a single bridge that short circuits the park. So essentially, when you it spans across the water, you arrive in a double height space with skylit galleries, and then it's sort of gradually the skylights turn into windows, a stair that gives access to all the vertical galleries, and then finally this big flexible gallery that overlooks the old mill. So it's almost like one of the sculptures in the sculpture park that also contains art inside and sort of allows us to remaster plan the sculpture park itself. And finally in Greenland, we have won the competition to design the National Art Museum of Greenland that deals as much with identity as art. It's a circular building on the waterfront of Nuuk, next to these like ugly modern high-rises from the 70s built by the Danish. And the main idea is that when you enter into the exhibition, you have this sort of little oasis where you can only see Greenlandic nature and Greenlandic art, and all the Danishness has been sort of edited out. So the last sort of idea, like we come from Copenhagen, but we have this sort of envy of Park City. So we're doing a waste-to-energy power plant in Copenhagen, and we thought like we might not have mountains like you guys, but we have mountains of waste. So we turned this huge factory into a gigantic ski slope. I have 18 seconds left. That actually allows us to ski in the middle of Copenhagen. So in the future, you should look out for the Danish competitors in alpine skiing. With that as the final remarks, we are incredibly excited to be invited to this project. We just won a competition to do a ski resort in Finland, and at the end of January we'll go for a 1-week field trip to Park City to do some serious research about how to do a ski resort, and I'm looking very much forward to be back. Thank you.